Hey buddy Crow, back again with another Pinball FX3 table. We are looking at Williams Table Pack number 4, second table in that table, Red and Ted's Roadshow. Before I continue, I need to mention I did get this table pack from Zen Studios for free, and I am playing on PC, in which case I'm playing uncensored. If you're playing on consoles, it may or may not be censored. At the time, you can only play them censored, but I know that they're working on a way to get them uncensored. But even so, I think there's only one thing that's been changed in the Red and Ted's Roadshow, and I will be making a video on that censorship in the future, as I have done for all the other tables so far. So let's just jump into Red and Ted's Roadshow.
Time to go to work. Let's fire that thing up.
Alright, so this is Red and Ted's Roadshow, released by Williams in October 1994. Designed by Pat Lawler. 6,259 of these machines were produced. And right now we're looking at the game being played in single classic player arcade mode with the enhancements turned off, which means, as mentioned in the Whitewater video, this table is one of the first to introduce the new flipper physics. As for the table itself, this is a wide-body pinball machine themed around road construction, which is something I think everyone that lives in or around a major city and commutes via automobile to work can relate to. The major feature on this table are the two talking heads of Red and Ted, two construction workers that take up a huge amount of space on the table and is most likely the reason this is a wide body. On the plus side, the extra space on the table provides plenty of room for simulated roadways and paths for the ball to travel in service of the theme. Now, I always consider this table to be a spiritual successor to Funhouse, simply because Red and Ted on this table are practically the same as Rudy was in Funhouse, except now there are two of them. Some of the dialogue in this table is pretty much referencing Funhouse as well. The multi-ball feature is pretty much activated the same way. In Funhouse, Rudy falls asleep and you shoot the ball in his mouth, which wakes him out and he spits the ball out. In Roadshow, Ted falls asleep and you shoot the ball in his mouth, which wakes him up, and he acts like he's going to spit the ball out, but instead he swallows it. While we're talking about multi-ball, I have to mention that the jackpot shot is hitting Ted in the mouth again, but this is made more difficult by a bulldozer arm that lifts up and down, which usually blocks hitting Ted altogether. I really enjoy making this shot because not only do you have to correctly aim for Ted's mouth, you also have to time it so the bulldozer isn't blocking the shot. And this is on top of doing this during multi-ball. After you hit the Ted jackpot, then you've got to hit the Red jackpot by hitting Red with the upper right-hand flipper, which can be difficult to do during multi-ball, but it's also very similar to the jackpot shot in Funhouse. I'd also like to mention that getting the Red jackpot is the achievement for this table, and it's not too difficult to do, especially if you can start multi-ball and get the Ted jackpot, because it's just one step further from that. Other than Red and Ted, the table features a secondary plunger on the left side for supplemental skill shots, again just like Funhouse. It includes a blast zone and a shaker motor, which was really an uncommon feature at the time this table was released. So if you're using a controller with a rumble function, you could expect to be getting some use out of that during the game. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the game as you go from city to city, causing destruction by completing the game modes. But one other thing I want to mention is that of the souvenirs, because it can be kind of confusing. Occasionally in the game you'll earn souvenirs, or if you visit Bob's Bunker you might be offered to buy a souvenir, only to find out that when you buy the souvenir, you actually pay with your score and thus lowering your score. Well, then what's the point of buying souvenirs then? Well, some of the souvenirs are related to a certain city, so if you have a souvenir related to that city when you visit it, you'll earn bonus points. Also, if you make it to Albuquerque, you can sell back your souvenirs at a higher price than what you paid for it. On top of that, buying a pinball will actually either light an extra ball or just give you an extra ball and or light the special. Finally, I need to mention that the country singer Carlene Carter provides the voice of Red, and her song Every Little Thing plays when a jackpot is earned. Now, I'm not really a fan of country music, and I really don't know who Carlene Carter is, but it's something I felt that I should mention, especially because once that song starts playing when a jackpot is struck, it's pretty satisfying, while at the same time pretty unexpected the first time you hear it. And now that I've talked about all I wanted to talk about the table, let's talk about the enhancements you can enable with a push of a button. As usual, the enhancements in this version include a new sidewall art and a slightly different color scheme for the flippers. In this case, it's just black rubbers instead of red. But the biggest and most animated thing on the table is Ted and his bulldozer, which usually reside on the right side of the apron. While I do like this addition, I feel like a lot of people won't because it's not subtle at all. It's pretty animated, it always seems to be moving, and it's not just limited to the apron. If the blast zone shot is missed, Ted and the bulldozer will leap to the blast zone to dispose of the TNT left there. And in cases where the ball is being held by the table to play some sort of sequence on the DMD, Ted will jump and drive his bulldozer wildly in the middle of the table. Now this doesn't really affect gameplay, but I can see how people will turn off these enhancements just because of this. Other enhancements are much more minor, but one of the best is the addition of a flip calendar in the upper left corner of the table. This is useful because it easily lets you know what day of the week it is in the game, so you know how close you are to Friday so you can start locking balls for multi-ball. Additionally, an animated work whistle has been added to the upper right of the playfield, and the boombox, which was already part of the table, is now animated as well when it's activated in the game. And finally, there's a TNT plunger that's on the left side of the apron. It's a very animated game when the enhancements are turned on, and in fact it may be too animated to the point where it can be a bit distracting, but I find it's always fun to play with them on every once in a while. So, coming up next, we'll see some side-by-side comparisons of the Zen Physics versus the arcade setting of the single classic player mode, and then we'll see the regular mode versus the enhancements turned on, and we'll also compare this version of the table compared with the Pinball arcade version that came out years ago. And then following that will be a full gameplay during a stream I did in the single classic player arcade mode with the enhancements turned on, and then some final comments after that. Alright, so here is the Zen Physics on the left with the single classic player arcade setting on the right, aka the new ball and flipper physics that are supposed to be more realistic. Again, it's kind of hard to tell just by looking at the differences, but if you are playing it, you can certainly feel it. Zen Physics is certainly easier, so if you're going for achievements, you have to play it in that. I would recommend playing it in that mode. But we're going to switch over now to the enhancements off on the left with the enhancements on the right. And again, if it weren't for the Ted and his tractor or bulldozer, it would be more comparable, but because of the bulldozer, you know, it's just making all the animation and jumping around and everything. Again, we see the calendar in the corner. There he is jumping in the middle of the table. Very noticeable. Some people might not like it, but you could easily turn that off. And finally here, we're looking at Pinball FX3 versus Pinball Arcade. Again, this is actually pretty close. The most glaring difference to me is actually Red and Ted themselves. They look a lot more pale in Pinball Arcade compared to Pinball FX3. It may look like there's some other differences, but it just might be some slight angle differences based on the fact that I couldn't get exactly the same camera angle in both games. I really don't know what else to say. I mean, you know, lighting's just a little bit different. Pinball Arcade, this is, you know, just the default 50% room and 50% lighting. You don't get that kind of option in Pinball FX3. But aside, you know, the physics themselves, you know, just way out of whack in Pinball Arcade, especially after Pinball FX3. But for now, let's skip ahead. We're going to see a full game I played during the live stream.
Let's wreck some roads.
Close.
Tuesday. Wednesday. Spin
Wheel
the
is lit.
wheel.
There we go. Bob's freebie. Sunglasses. Almost. Well, I still got it, I guess.
Hey, look, Ted, a beach party. Jerk alert.
There we go. that out of there.
We're on our way, baby.
All right.
Thursday.
Now it's Friday. Now we can start locking balls. Whoa! Ah. And boom! Right down the middle. I think you can, but why would I turn it on? Yes, this is on the Switch. I'm not sure if these tables have been released so far on the consoles. I assume they are, but I mean, if they're not now, they will be shortly. I mean, it's not like Farsight with Pinball Arcade, where tables would be like released on the PS4 like 3 months after the PC version. God damn it.
Where's my paycheck?
There's your paycheck, Ted.
Payday! Let's party! Put on your dancing shoes, baby!
Again, way too hard.
Come on, easy street tonight!
There we go. Lock 2.
Party time.
As soon as he gets paid, he's worn out for the weekend, huh?
Oh
Got it. Skill shot.
no. Oh no.
In there.
Multi-ball. Hey. Hey.
That's 2. Let's see if we can actually get a jackpot. Oh, no. Well, I have to try and restart multi-ball.
Hurry up.
Working on it, okay?
Let's go.
There we go. Got it. Oh, wasn't looking. Oh man, there it is. I activated all 3 multi-ball in Tournament Arcade. And it wasn't too nice, but I think I beat your score, Road Radish. Yes, I did.
Don't be a stranger.
And that is Red and Ted's Roadshow. That game I just showed wasn't actually the last game I played during the stream, but it was the one I had the highest score on, and it was also one where I got the jackpot. So I just decided to throw that game in there, even though it probably wasn't the cleanest game at all. I'm sure I could have done a lot better, especially just keeping multi-ball in play and as such. But you know what? That's what I have, so that's what's in the video. This table, I find, is a really fun follow-up to Funhouse. I mean, we've got the dummy characters, we've got all the same humor, and everything is just amped up times 10. You've got the shaker motor, you've got tons of shots to make. I just really like coming back to this one and playing it every now and again. And it's the table I would highly recommend for anybody. Although it just might be a little bit intimidating for beginners because a lot of the shots are just very clear, but as you play it, you'll get used to it. So again, I would recommend it. So we're going to end the video. If you've made it this far and you did like the video, please do remember to like the video. And if you've made it this far and you haven't yet subscribed, I would recommend subscribing because I have plenty of videos just like this on my channel, Pinball FX3, Pinball Arcade, and Zaccaria Pinball, and plenty other pinball stuff with more to come. Thanks for watching.